Welcome back to Privacy and Security in Online Social Media course. This is week 8 and part 1. I hope you're enjoying the class. I hope you're getting some interesting content from this course that you probably don't know otherwise. The goal for the course is always to introduce some content to you that you are probably otherwise not aware of. As always, any questions, any thoughts, any reactions, any clarifications that you want, feel free to post it on the course mailing list. So today, this week, what we're going to look at is of the topic called as privacy, right? So we're going to deal a lot of details of what privacy is, what are the things that happens, and we'll also have some hands-on sessions on some of the privacy tools, all of that. Pause the video and think of what are the words that comes to your mind when you think of privacy, right? If you think about it, probably you can think of my physical space, the one that you're sitting now and listening to this lecture, or my online habits. Maybe you're using, you maybe want or don't want people to know that you're watching this NPTEL video, or your sort of say phone calls, right? Being tracked or not being tracked, right? So all of that, I mean, there are many more, right? So physical privacy, online privacy, telecommunication privacy, even within online, there could be many expectations that you may have, which is at some point in time, I want others to know that I'm here, so I can probably get some discounts of products. At some point in time, I don't want anybody to know. I want to be left alone. So there are many, many expectations of privacy, and privacy is also a little complicated in that sense. Expectations of privacy is complicated. If you think of yourself also, the privacy that you may want at home is different from, let's take your office or school, college, versus you're in a movie theater, versus you're watching a game in a stadium. Right? If you think about it, all of these expectations of privacy are maybe very different. So the motivation for me, for you to let you think about the word privacy is to just get you think about what directions, what are the topics that we will probably be dealing with. Right, let's look at some definitions of privacy, which is, meaning for now, what we saw here is generally the words that comes to our mind, right? Privacy is my telephone, my internet, browsing history, my username, password, all of this is what probably is coming to mind, my social media presence, all of that. Now let's look at formal definitions of privacy, right? Privacy is a value so complex, so entangled, in competing and contradictory dimensions, so engorged with various and distinct meanings that I sometimes despair whether it can be usefully addressed at all. Right? So this is one of the popular definitions. And again, just think about it, right? So entangled, competing, contradictory dimensions, engorged with various distinct meanings. Very complicated definition, it looks like. So I put the reference also. Feel free to go take a look at the paper if you're interested. But this is just defining that it is complex. Sometimes your own privacy expectations can change. Same location, same person, different privacy expectations because you're with different people at that point in time. sometimes maybe even contradicting dimensions, right? Which is what you want today, probably tomorrow or a couple of days later, you probably want the opposite of what you want today. Here are some more definitions. This is by Alan Weston, a popular professor in this topic. Privacy is the claim of individuals, groups, or institutions. He kind of nicely makes it inclusive of not just you and me, but a set of groups or set of institutions also. For example, IIT by itself can have some privacy expectations. To determine for themselves when, how, and to what extent information about them is communicated to others. Each individual is continually engaged in a personal adjustment process in which he balances the desire for privacy with the desire for disclosure and communication. So important thing is to determine for themselves personal adjustment process. We're always in this, right? For example, you may be accessing a website which is asking you for username, password, which is asking you for some details, cookies to be accepted for you to go to that page. You're accepting the cookies because the return of investment in going to that page is more, right? Or the thing that you want from that website is more than just accessing these cookies, and let the cookies know that you're accessing these pages, or the websites know that you're accessing these pages. Which he balances the desire for privacy with the desire for disclosure and communication. It's always a trade-off. It's a trade-off between what I want to share and what I want to not share. So we may have seen this, but let me repeat it for connecting to this topic here. Let's take if this was privacy, this was utility, right? Which is utility, usability, all of that. So some systems, for example, your banking systems have increased the security, right? Increased the privacy for usage, right? They have put in username, password, then there's virtual keyboards, then there's OTPs. All of that is increasing, right? In return, the usability is actually decreasing. If you look at it, right? Usability, because it is taking more time to get in. People are frustrated doing all of this back and forth. OTPs come or SMS don't come. It takes a while. It gets sessioned out, and then you want to do another OTP. All of that. Maybe the passwords. Passwords also, the requirements are it has to be 8 characters. It has to be 8 characters. One being alpha numeric ones. Then there must be a special character. Then there must be a combination of alpha and plus numbers next to each other. One has to be capital, right? So all of this makes the password very strong, of course. But on the other side, the usability is getting reduced, right? So the way to think about it is that privacy is high, the utility or the usability is pretty low. Privacy is a little lower, the utility is here. Utility is very high, privacy is here. So the way to think about it is that it will be more something like that. Okay. So this one helps to understand the point about, look, if you keep increasing privacy for providing privacy in technologies, there's more and more chances that the utility and the usability may end up reducing. And this could be the way. And generally, if you also think about it, people want to design technologies which are here, right? You want to make sure that the utility is very high. You want to make sure that the privacy is also very high. If you break this into 4 quadrants, we're talking about this quadrant where technology should be having more utility and more privacy also. Western at some point in time also decided to think about these privacy as states, right? He thought about it as states, and he actually called it as solitude, intimacy, anonymity, and reserve, which is solitude, meaning I think the word definition, dictionary meaning itself would help, but let me put the context for the these states also. Solitude, individual separated from the group and freed from the observation of the other other persons, right? So this means I want to be let alone. I'm staying also alone. I'm not part of any groups, right? Intimacy is individual is part of a small unit, meaning I think I'm getting anonymity, I'm getting my privacy because I'm just part of small group. I'm not being identified in a larger group at all. Individual in a public, but still seeks and finds freedom from identification and surveillance. Anonymity, right? I keep I most of the time wear a cap, I wear a mask. Even if somebody takes a picture, somebody takes a video around it, I'm being anonymized. Or I wear this glass, which actually allows me to, when people scan, when people take pictures again, my face doesn't show up. There are many, many methods by which you probably are using is platforms like Tor, Anonymizer, where when you are actually browsing online, your browsing history is not captured, or your access to these websites are not being captured. Reserve, the creation of a psychological barrier against unwanted intrusion, holding back communication. So this and solitude are very connected, right? Solitude, individual separated from the group. In this one, it is creation of a psychological barrier against, I just want to be more of introvert type of people, right? That's what will fall into the reserve category. I speak less. Let's look at Solove's privacy taxonomy, right? He started looking at the same question of privacy. Solove is also very popular in terms of the content on privacy that he has done, work that he has done. Information collection, information processing, invasion, and information dissemination. Let me go through, again, these kind of images. If you see, please help yourself to go read the document. But the idea is that I will cover what is necessary for the flow of the class. Right? Information collection, surveillance, interrogation. Right? So information collection is happening because surveillance is being done, wanting to make sure that crimes are reduced. Cameras that are put in the city is very, very useful in terms of finding out if there's a thief around your home or a signal or somebody jumping a signal. All of that can be actually captured through the surveillance cameras, and it can be very useful. Of course, it can be used for interrogation purposes also. Information processing, aggregation, identification, and secondary use. You want to make sure that the information that is collected, secondary usage of this data, maybe Amazon is collecting the data for delivering the book, but they're also using it for something else. Invasion, intrusion and decisional interference. Meaning intrusion into your office space. Let's take somebody is barging into your office, or those kind of privacy invasion is what Solove is talking about. Information dissemination, which is if a breach of confidentiality, disclosure, exposure, increased accessibility, blackmail. So for all of this, you want to make sure that information is disseminated more widely, information is available, and make sure that these kind of issues are actually reduced also. Right. So that's Solove's privacy taxonomy. Then Western went on to create actually something called as privacy indices, which is defining these three sets of categories of users in the US. He did data collection for many, many, many years together and put the classification as fundamentalist, pragmatist, and unconcerned. And fundamentalist, I will define what these users are, what these categories are. But fundamentalists are a set of people who are very, very conscious about privacy, very, very finicky about privacy. Don't let their information go online or reduce it as much as possible. Don't do online transactions. Don't use, so to say, technology very much, all of that. Pragmatist is because of trade-off, so this is less of tracking can be done for them. This is trade-off people. Depending on the situation, they will actually make a choice of whether it is whether they want to do the activity of allowing the cookies or not. Unconcerned are people who are okay with their information being tracked, who are okay with giving away their username, password for something, or their online transactions, everything like that. So again, fundamentalists are people who are very, very careful. Pragmatists are people who do trade-offs. Unconcerned are people who don't care about their privacy. So Western had done these kind of studies for about 30 years or so, asking same questions to statistically representative samples in the US and collecting information to find that fundamentalists were about 25%, pragmatists were about 60% on average, and unconcerned were about 15%. Again, this was a report that we had written in 2005. Which was comparing all the data that Alan Weston had collected over many, many years. Right? So the idea here was, at least the idea for writing this report was to have a one-point document which actually gives you details about this 30 years of research that Alan Weston had done. So there are some activity also I placed in this part, which is, please go to this URL and watch this video. Video is probably a 10-minute or 11-minute video, probably shorter than that. Take a look at the video and then come back to listening to this lecture, right? Because I think the point of this video, and there's also another video, but this video, both the videos are very similar, talking about when you order pizza, what all goes on, what all can go on at some point in time. Right? I assume that you stop the video, watch the how to order pizza video, and then you're coming back. So some of the takeaways from the video could be is that third parties can or does have information about us. Right? In the video, if you would have remember, the customer service person is saying that, look, I know the book you actually took from the library. I know that your credit card limit is over. I know that you cannot actually go withdraw money from the cash because that limit is also over. I know that you have diabetes or some medical issues, so you cannot order this kind of pizza. Right? So these information are probably available separately, right? Health information, financial information, your library information, all of that is available separately that your activities must have done. But this pizza ordering company, right, pizza company has somehow access to all the information. So therefore they are able to actually use it while taking the order for the pizza. Can be used for making suggestions, information about us, right? So you read a book and therefore we can actually do recommendations. This is how probably you're doing, you're getting all the recommendations on your Netflix, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter recommendations of tweets. All of that is coming because they are actually making use of what we did with our behavior on these platforms and using that for making recommendations. Access to information may be okay. How it is getting used is the question, right? They knowing that what book I took from libraries is still okay, but how are they going to use it is going to be the problem that we should be talking about. Of course, when you order pizza next time, think about it. Probably these days we are ordering it through Swiggy. You're not really calling up a customer service and ordering. So therefore, this details of how them getting to know that the book that I read is probably not coming in the picture because we are doing all of them in a Zomato or a Swiggy. So this study that I showed you is a very US-centric study, which is about fundamentalist pragmatist and concern. So now if you were to take that and look at a study, similar kind of classification of Indian citizens, how would it look? Some study was done 2-3 times. We have attempted to do this study. First one was in 2005. A first quantitative study in India about privacy, and the study basically looked at doing discussions with people, interviews, focus group discussions, and surveys. So we conducted an exploratory study to gain an initial understanding of attitudes about privacy among Indian high-tech workforce. We carried out a written survey and a one-on-one interviews to access the level of awareness of privacy-related issues and concerns about privacy among the sample of educated people in India. Right? So the idea was to try and do this study for the first time in India to get a sense of what people think of privacy. Of course, it's about, this was in 2005, it's probably what, 15 plus 3, 18 years now. And if you think about it, the privacy also has changed, right? The way that the people think of privacy is also changed, and what is the definition of privacy is also changed over a period of time. So of course, if you do the study now, it may be very, very different. Right? Our results demonstrate an overall lack of awareness of privacy issues and less concern about privacy in India than being found in the similar studies conducted in the US. I think this kind of result was expected, or we started off the study thinking that is the hypothesis that we had. But I think that the understanding of privacy is probably getting better and better in India, and it's getting closer and closer to what is probably in the US or in the Europe. Of course, Europe and all has a very, very far more well-developed understanding of privacy in terms of legal, in terms of technology, in terms of just citizens itself. The awareness of privacy is much, much higher. That was 2005. Then we again did a study in 2011-12 to look at the same questions, but slightly make it very Western type of study, very Western type of study, keeping the questions very, very how a Western had asked in his studies. So we got 10,427 responses, one of the largest study done across the world in terms of privacy perceptions. Interestingly, the questions and the results that we got was different from the 2005 study, of course, because it was already 7 years. And the fundamentalist, pragmatist, and unconcerned were very different compared to the US. But I will let you actually go look at the report in case if you're interested in knowing more about the study. Again, I'm happy to talk about these kind of things in our office hours for the course also. Here are some questions that we did in the 2012 study. And just to give you a sense of how people were reacting, what are the kinds of numbers that we got, is what I'm trying to show here. What do you feel about privacy of your personal information on your OS? And let's just call it as Instagram for now, because that's probably the most popularly used social network for the audience in the class. It's not a concern at all, right? Since I've specified my privacy settings, my data is secure from a privacy breach. Even though I've specified my privacy settings, I'm concerned about privacy of my data. It is a concern, but I still share my personal information. It's a concern, and so I do not share personal information data on Insta, right? So just pause the video and take a look at this question and then try and see what category would you belong to. Let's take A, B, C, D, E. Which category would you belong to? Now let me show you the result. About 19% says that it's not a concern at all. It doesn't matter. I mean, these are the unconcerned people I said earlier. 42% of the people are saying that, look, I've specified, and just look at it, these numbers are also not very small. These are about 6,800 people who filled this question as giving the responses. 42% of them are saying that since I've specified my privacy settings, my data is secure from a privacy breach. The next category, even though I have specified my privacy settings, is about 24%. It's a concern is about 8%. It's a concern, but I still share is about 8%. It's a concern, and I do not share is about 6.7%. Right? So this set of people is what we should be thinking about. We should be looking at saying, are these the right perception that the users have? Let's look at one more question, and the rest I will let you to go. It's a pretty long survey. I think it had about 83 questions or so. It gets into a lot of details. So Western Square surveys are also very long. It gets into a lot of details about different aspects of privacy, financial privacy, internet privacy, online privacy, all of that. So take a look at it. If you receive a friendship request on your most favorite, most frequently used OSN, Insta, which of the following people will you add as friends? Person of opposite gender, people from my hometown, a person with a nice profile picture, strangers, somebody who do not know or any recognize but have mutual common friends, anyone. The difference between these two is that there may be, in the strangers one, there may be some connection, common connections. In the anyone category, there is, it may be some random people who have no connection with you also. Right? I'm sure in the LinkedIn you would see all this, right? Number of people who are connected to the person who's sending you the request, and the common friends that you have also. Pause the video and think about which category will you fall in. Now, when you look at the results, person of opposite gender is about 27%. People from my hometown is about 19%. Person with nice profile picture is about 10%. Strangers is about 5%. Somebody who do not know, whom you do not know or recognize but have a mutual common friend is about 8%, and anyone is about 3%. So the thing to keep in mind is also, this is also 2012 data. So it may be the case that if you do it in 23, the numbers may be very different. But the point is that we should do all these kind of data, even if you are interested in doing this kind of small data collection among a sample that you are interested in, please do. Because I think this kind of gives you a good insight on what people think of privacy, all this quantitative data. Unfortunately, we don't have it in India, right? We want to have these kind of data to make policy decisions, to make technological choices, all of that. But unfortunately, we end up always making many of the choices from an anecdotal experiences rather than very quantitative. some cartoon, which is you thought that on the internet nobody knew that you were a dog, but then you started getting personalized ads for your favorite brand of dog food, essentially saying that this was a cartoon that was published in 1990s in New York Times, showing that, look, I think even though you can think that you're not being tracked, you think that nobody knows you, but the recommendations that you get are actually so much driven by how people know or what people know about you. The next activity, watch the trailer on YouTube. This is again a social dilemma. Some of you may have seen this already. Watch the trailer. Watching the full Netflix documentary, which is about an hour or 20 minutes. I'm making it optional. But to understand the situation right now and how things are progressing in terms of privacy, I would highly recommend you to actually take a look at the complete documentary also. Stop the video and watch the trailer, and then only come back and listen to the rest of the lecture. I hope that you're doing this as and when I say, otherwise the fun is lost, right? Otherwise now knowing about what is in the video and then going and watching the video, there's not much of a fun. But what did we get? Assume that now, I'm assuming that you must have watched the video. What did we get out of even the trailer itself, right? Networks have both good and bad effects. All networks that we generate, you are connected to me on LinkedIn now. Networks will have some good effect, which is that the post that I do probably about the class or about the project or about the papers that we are writing in terms of privacy may be good to you. There may be some negative effects of this also, right? Not just this, but let's take you are looking at posts of your friends who are from your school who got lesser marks than you and doing well in terms of whatever materialistic definition that let's keep, having a bigger car, doing vacations internationally, buying a home, all of that, right? So probably these are some things that you will probably get a little disturbed, little worried, little pensive. It will make you to think a little bit when you see these kind of posts. That's a negative effect of these social networks. If you're not paying for the product, you are the product. I think that's one super punchline in this video. If you're not paying for the product, which is Insta, Facebook, all of this, then you are the product. A change in your behavior. I think these kind of platforms have probably influenced us more than what we think that is going on. These can destabilize the fabric of the society. I'm sure you have read and seen how Facebook was used for the 2016 elections, where even Brazil elections, where fake news was spread on the social media platforms, and how that was affecting the citizens who were casting their vote, or Facebook as a platform itself was manipulated to some extent. Cambridge Analytica kind of a problem where Democrats and Republicans were shown different set of information at some point in time. You may have understood how ads and news are presented in your feed. You must have gotten a little bit of sense of, after watching the video, what's going on behind these platforms. Echo chambers, right? So we all are in some form of echo chambers, right? Which is people who are playing cricket are together on the same platform. You go to the same school, you are in a group where discussion, WhatsApp group, whatever platforms you can think about, Insta group, all of that, right? So what we like to do and what we want to do is the kind of groups that we are part of. Groups meaning all the people that we follow, let's take for now. And therefore, the information that we are looking at is always the information that otherwise we would be interested in, right? And therefore, this is kind of an echo chamber, right? Which is all that we want is always the same kind of topic, same kind of people, same kind of ideologies that we have. That's why it's called an echo chamber. Social network is a big echo chamber. The size can be very different. The political parties, people, larger echo chamber, whereas probably people who would do computer science has a smaller echo chamber on social networks. And another one is EULA, which is end users license agreement. Before you click on agree, in let's take an app that you downloaded or some services that you want to use, before you clicked on agree, how many times do we actually read the end user's license agreement? Right? So it's probably very low. That's another thing that the video talks about. Here is another activity. This one is exactly on the Cambridge Analytica problem that I said in the last slide. Watch the trailer, but if possible, watch the complete one to see how social networks have played, particularly in this case, Facebook has played a big role in elections. Stop the video, look at least the trailer, and then come back to the video. How users are polarized, right? If you look at if you've seen the whole documentary, you will realize that how they took features of each individual, right? They got what you liked, what book did you read, what websites did you go like this. They got like 3,000 data points of PK and used it to make a decision on whether I'm a Democrat or a Republican. And depending on what they found, if I was either a Democrat or Republican, they kind of said, okay, it's okay, no worries, we already know his political affiliation. If not, they were trying to show me information to get me on one side. Right? And therefore, this is super polarization that was happening on platforms. And these polarizations have probably only increased over time because the companies know more about us now than, let's take a couple of years before. We only need to manipulate swing states. That's the point I said. Wherever people we don't know which political party they are, here states meaning the states in the US, different states, that's the state that they were playing with. Now let's look at some specific, very sort of say clear research goal on trying to study privacy. So we will look at one or two papers like this, which are seminal work in that sense. If you were to go look at privacy in social networks on Research Scholar, on Google Scholar, or on papers written, these are the papers that you will end up seeing, which has had a great influence on how people thought about these kind of problems. This one is information revelation and privacy in online social networks, the Facebook case. And the big question that they asked was online versus offline. Okay. Which is they took some users, studied their online behavior, got some offline data from the same users and tried to make connection between them. I'll walk you through what it is in detail now. Background, large amount of data is getting generated. I think all of us agree to that. Even in the week one, I showed you content which was very clear that these platforms have humongous amount of data right now about us. Large amount of data is getting generated. Large amount of pictures are being uploaded. The social platforms have acquired a lot of products, developed a lot of solutions which can help them to do face recognition. The problem that we're going to deal with is face recognition using pictures from social, and therefore this connection of face recognition. Lots of things are colluding because one side the data storage is becoming cheaper or available too easily. and increasing public self-disclosures through online social networks, which is we are uploading, for example, I upload my pictures, right? I assume that in the last 8 weeks, you may have seen my social post about different cities that I travel to. Hashtag, hello, hashtag Bangalore, or hello, hashtag Bhopal, right? Hello, hashtag Indore, hello, hashtag Delhi, whatever, right? Different cities that I travel otherwise, I actually do a post. Self-disclosure. Nobody's asking me to post it on social, but I do it myself. I upload a photograph. I also upload a location because I'm in Delhi. I'm saying that I'm in Delhi. I'm probably saying that I'm giving a lecture in this place. I'm meeting these people. I met this alumni, blah, blah, blah. Right? I'm giving away that level of details. Accuracy of all these platforms have increased. I think ML and DL are all have influenced the way that these platforms are able to recognize the faces that are uploaded on these platforms. Cloud services have become much more cheaper. Re-identification techniques are getting better, which is if I give you a picture, how quickly can you find out that it's PK? The question that Ralph and Alessandro were interested in was that can one combine publicly available information, particularly online, with off-the-shelf face recognition technology? Just take some open source tool and then just run the face recognition algorithm on top of the pictures that you collect from this Facebook. Can you re-identify the people on the picture? Can you find potential sensitive information of these users? So the goal that they set out was use unidentified source. Your unidentified source is Match.com, photos from Flickr, because I don't know who you are, right? You create a profile on Match.com, which is with the name as Heyman, Heyman, Delhi, right? Something like that. And you have an account, and we want to take this unidentified source, connect it to identified source, which could be your Facebook. Let's take LinkedIn, because there you're saying that I am Ponurangam Kumaraguru, right? Or government websites, and get some sensitive information by putting these two together. So re-identification is something that we later somewhere in the course we will also look at anonymization techniques. But for now, let's look at only what a re-identification means. Ethnicity. So essentially, two different Latanya Sweeney in 1990s. Did this work as PhD at MIT, where she said that, look, I'm going to take medical data and I'm going to take voters list and I'm going to put them together and try and see whether I can re-identify somebody, US citizens, from doing this merging of data sets that are publicly available or upon request is available. Right? So she was interested in this re-identifying data. And she was very successful in terms of giving the zip code, birth date, and gender. If you put it, she was able to re-identify the users. It's a phenomenal work. After this, she developed this k-anonymity, which is what we will try reading later in the course. K-anonymity, how you can actually protect, what methods can you actually develop to protect the data that is available. Okay. So that's re-identification. Re-identification is the problem that the paper was looking at. Technologies, techniques that are available, k-anonymity, L-diversity, T-closeness, differential privacy. These are all different methods of protecting the data, giving anonymity to the data. We will look at all of them later as part of this course. But for now, I mentioned that so that you understand that these re-identification methods exist, and you want to actually have methods to protect it also. The experiments that they did were three parts. Online. One was They did mining publicly available images from Facebook. This was online data, right? Facebook data, to re-identify profiles on one of the most popular dating sites in the US, and used publicly available open source tools to start with, and then that was acquired by Google later. But the idea is that you can use TensorFlow and other methods now to take the image and see how many faces are there, which is the part of the face, and can you actually find out whose that face belongs to. Okay, that's the goal for experiment 1. So the data that they collected was downloaded Facebook profiles from one city. They had 200. So today, this study, if you have to do, is extremely hard, because I think it's very hard to get data from Facebook in this level now. Profiles is 270,000 profiles. Images is 274,000. Faces detected is 110,000 faces were detected in the pictures that were downloaded. The unidentified source, which is a matrimonial website or a dating website in this case, downloaded profiles of one of the popular dating websites from the same city that they downloaded the images from Facebook. Pseudonymous to protect their identities. Photos can be used to identify. Same city was used to search. 5,000 profiles were collected, and about 5,000 pictures were taken from these profiles, or faces were deducted from these pictures. So let's, just to give you again a quick recap, 100,000 faces we have on the identified side. We have 5,000 faces on the unidentified side. Okay. Now the goal is to compare, right? You do one by one comparison. You take the unidentified photographs, connect it to the Facebook identified pictures, and you identify the individual. If you do the comparison, it will be more than 500 million pairs. But the tool that they were using gives you some score. Depending on a threshold, they actually said that if it's above a threshold, then it's actually the same person. And then they actually showed so they compared it, the unidentified and identified, and they got let's take a score greater than delta as the score. If the score is there, they took this picture 1 and picture 1 identified and picture 1 unidentified and identified, and showed it to a crowdsource user, which is like a Mechanical Turk, MTurk kind of a platform, where you go do all these annotation tasks, small tasks. MTurk is a platform where you can get a lot of these small tasks done by a large number of people. And they clicked on the button and said that, look, this is the same person, this is not the same person, because it's a human being now making the decision, not the tool. For each pair, at least 5 people said. Right? Highly likely matches were 6.3%, and highly likely and likely matches were 10.5%. So essentially about 17% of the 17% of the photographs picked from unidentified and identified were actually the same person, most likely to be the same person. 1 on 10 from dating site can be identified, which is the reference to 6%. Let's take if you were the attacker for this method, right? Can you do anything better? They got 17%. Can you see how to make this algorithm a little better? Or can you also think about methods by which you can protect them from not being identified? Think about it. Experiment 2, which is offline and online. What they did was they took the pictures from FB, but they actually got hold of people on the campus, asking them to fill a survey. And during the process, while they're filling the survey, they took the pictures and they did the back-end comparison of the picture taken from the user who's filling the survey and the Facebook pictures, and asked them whether it is them. Right? Webcam to take 3 pictures of the participant. Let's take you are on a campus, you're walking around. somebody says that, come, I'm doing this study, will you be happy to participate? You sign and then say, yes, I am. And they take 3 pictures of you, and then they ask you to fill a survey. While you're filling the survey with these pictures, they go back and compare it in their Facebook data and see whether they get the user. Now that they know from the online that the comparison, whatever comparisons they have done, they can bring back the picture which is very close to what you are, the picture that who the participant who is joining the study, and now they showed that picture to them, which is what happened. Collected over 2 days, 25,000 profiles, 26,000 images, 114,000 pictures where faces were detected. Pictures taken of individuals. There's also an image which can explain this. Experimenter supervisor is here. Participants comes, upload the picture, then response is given, then they start the survey form, and then when they start the survey, they do. This is the user who's actually filling the survey. Custom survey token is given, and the survey results are sent. When the survey results are sent, so face recognition is happening. So after face recognition is happening while the participant is filling the survey. After the filling the survey, the pictures are shown to the, so this is what pictures are, generate survey token. Pictures is shown, the comparison pictures are shown to the user, and feedback is taken whether it is actually the same person. Right. I've written the same thing in text in case if you want to just read what I just now said. Okay. Results: 98 participants, all students had Facebook accounts. Interestingly, right? They were, so essentially what this means is that if you randomly pick somebody on the campus or probably on the streets in whichever city you are, and take the photograph of them and go to social and are able to collect some millions and billions of pictures from these Insta and Facebook platform, you will re-identify this person effectively. That's what this means. And of course, re-identification can happen, meaning of course, there's some probability associated with it, but the probability is getting higher and higher when people upload pictures more and more, or these algorithms are getting better and better. In my case, you should be able to identify more because I upload a lot of pictures. 38.18% of participants were matched with correct Facebook profile, including a participant who mentioned that he did not have a picture on Facebook. These are the interesting things, right? They were able to identify somebody who said that, look, I don't have a picture on Facebook, but they were able to identify that person on Facebook because somebody else must have posted the picture, right? Average computation is less than 3 seconds. Some pictures that, so this is a random picture from the study, and then they went and collected this picture, connected to a picture where this person was dancing, which somebody else had actually uploaded on social. The third experiment that they did was predicting. So this, I think, is what Alessandro has taken up more seriously after the study to try and see whether social security number, which is like our Aadhaar number, can be re-identified from social data. Faces or Facebook data, they collected public data connection, and then they were trying to infer SSN. That's the goal that Alessandro has been doing it for many years now. Just look him up. So the name of his name is here in the first place where I started the paper, but Alessandro. There's a lot of TED Talks around this topic that he has given. 27% of the subjects' first 5 digits of SSN were identified with 4 attempts. Some details I'll let you to go look at it in the paper, but the idea is that they were able to, so that's the social security number. It is 3 + 2 + 4, right? So they were able to actually re-identify some parts of the social security number of the individual. So that's the full paper talking about only this problem of predicting social security numbers from public data. Two more things. This, I think, I would let you, again, an optional one. I will let you to take a look at it. This part is mandatory because this is a shorter one. The next slide is an optional one about Snowden itself. Please look at this, stop the video, take a look at the discussion here. This is basically talking about, it's slightly philosophical, this video will be. Talking about how Snowden is sort of say leading his life now, given the things that he has done otherwise for the society in terms of the experiences that he has had. There's a Netflix documentary also on this, which talks about his life, how did he actually go about doing it, everything. So some quick summary from it is his privacy concerns that the documentary highlights. So what you do is you watch the video, and if you really watch it, again, this is optional. So if you really watch it, feel free to submit some of these thoughts on email, mailing list, things you learned, small or big, things you can do to help broader audience be aware of topic discussed, right? Things that you can do. With that, I will stop. Thank you for listening to this part of the course. See you soon.